a deep dive into my absolute favorite year for professional wrestling, the sport of professional wrestling, 1982. And it was, without a doubt, the most fondest time, my most favorite to watch it on TV. It was the first time in that year I was able to see it live for the very first time. And wow, just an awesome year, so nostalgic for me. There's not a lot of magazines printed in 1982. This is the pre-boom, a couple years away. By 84, it'll quadruple on the newsstands, but we're just coming off of the rusty, grimy, sleazy 70s, and moving into a new decade of colors and big fashion and wild hair and great music and whatever vices was pure that you loved the most as well. What a great year, 1982 and beyond. We're going to take a look at every single magazine. You know how we do it. We started out from the issues from January, every issue to hit the newsstand from February, March, all the way till the end of December in order. Every single thing that was ever printed in 1982 for mass consumption is right here, and you're going to see it here. Right out of the gate, issue number 1 for the year of 1982, January, Ric Flair takes the gold, defeating Dusty Rhodes, and Flair is the new NWA World Heavyweight Champion, man. And that was quite a career. As we all know, he needs no introduction from me. The beginning of the Nature Boy, and off to the races he would go for the next 30 years. Inside Wrestling, January 1982. The first to actually release the announcement, because pressing was 3 to 4 months behind in the magazines. You'd have to go to your local arena magazines or your local territory magazines, such as the Grapevine from Florida and Ringside from Georgia. You had the Dallas Sportatorium. They all had their own news in their own territory. Florida would be among the first to announce Flair's winning of the gold, and it's on this issue of Grapevine, volume number 4, number 29, and this was $1, which was decent compared to the magazines being $1.50. Of course, this is more of a territory magazine / program. The programs are always on the back of these grapevines, which is one of the things I really liked about them, because a lot of the times the lineup sheets are on the insides, and I can't show it, and it sucks. You don't get a chance to see without me having to open it up and waste time. But Grapevine being the first to announce the changing of the guard, and it wasn't just because for Dusty. They did it for almost all of them. Did it for Funk and Dusty and whatnot, even though they were all pretty mainstays in Florida as well. But January 1982, The Wrestler, and it's the Masked Superstar and Wildfire Tommy Rich continuing their battle in Georgia. Can Tommy Rich survive George's last hero? Both men signed copy. They're going to see a lot of my signed copies in this year, because it was, like I said, it was one of my favorites, and I had a lot of issues that came out of my signed collection. Magnificent Morocco getting stretched by Backlund in January of 82. Sports Review. Apartment House continuing on with their little corner shots for another year and a half or so before that would come to an end. Great shot. Nothing else is on the cover. It kind of seems to be the theme for the first 3, right? Just one picture, one main shot. Love it. That's the best layout ever. Not a bunch of shit thrown together in a mess. PWI still holding on to the last couple of issues with their in-action covers before switching over to the posed cover. Magnificent Morocco inside here. I'm wondering if he has the belt with that. I don't remember. Let's take a look. I have a couple of copies of that issue, and I don't know if it's with this one or not. At least give you a chance to see if you've never seen it. Yeah, it's here. Great looking shot, actually. The Magnificent One defeating Pedro Morales, taking the Intercontinental title, is the main pinup and a great looking one. Dusty and Flair is the main cover on the magazine, and this is going to Flair's match from when he won the title. This is actually really mint condition. I'll put this right back in the bag before I screw it up. All my magazines, no matter what, shitty condition, which most of them were not, or mint, they're immediately bag sealed and cardboarded behind to keep it protected. It keeps it away from any kind of an element, mostly air, dampness. These also have a UV protection, protects it from fading. I wouldn't stick it right up to a light, but I've got magazines that are right up against UV lights, like the roll of strips, and it never damaged one bit of the magazine covers. It has damaged a binder that I had sitting too close to it. I had a binder with photos in it, and the binder was red and it all faded to pink. Not one magazine was touched though, so it's pretty good shit. Best of the Wrestler, winter of 1982, Andre the Giant, Gene Anderson. Andre wins his 1,000th match. Now it gets a little weird with some of the wrestling news and the rings. I'm about to do a reshoot for that. I'm just trying to figure out how to do it because it's a clusterfuck, man. Trying to put them in order, and I'll save that traumatic stuff for later. But the ring will do a lot of double prints this year. Not a lot, maybe 3, but it's enough to really screw you up if you're a collector. So the rings and the wrestling news has merged. They're changing the name of it to just Wrestling Magazine, and it only happens once when they call it Wrestling Magazine. It's bizarre. This will be December/January 1982. So it was every other month is when the wrestling news released magazines. When they took over the rings, they decided to put out one every month. So it'll alternate wrestling news, the rings wrestling. Green and Martel take the cover as the WWF Tag Team Champions, and Kerry Von Erich is on the cover with the American Heavyweight Championship from Texas. First cover for Kerry, showing off a belt. Superstar Willie Billy Graham makes his comeback to the World Wrestling Federation winter of 1982, and he gets the front cover of Wrestling World. Wrestling World is just about to start putting out issues every month. I think another year away maybe before it actually starts putting out 12 issues a year. For Madison Square Garden, January 18th, Backlund defends the title against Adonis. Greg Valentine challenges Pedro for the Intercontinental title. And now you'll see that the magazine doesn't go with that date. Like I said, there's a lag time in between. So Morocco had lost the title already to Morales a few months back. So that's where the dates are going to contradict themselves a little bit if you see that. And then when Morocco wins it back again, it gets even more confusing because he has it twice, and some people didn't even realize he had that sucker twice. So Garden, there it is. Garden had 2... No, they don't have 2 shows a month. They have 2 shows a lot. This is by mistake, actually. This is a Brendan Byrne Arena program. Jesse gets the title shot against Backlund. This is in here by mistake. Sorry about that. Boxing will get Leonard and Hearns. Good brutal beatdown Leonard gives to Hearns. Not so much on the second one. They're talking about, an upcoming rematch, and Thomas Hearns delivers the goods in that fight, man, and went down on decision, and it's questionable. What a war these guys would have throughout the next several years. What a war the entire light heavyweight, middleweight, cruiserweight, whatever the hell, welterweight, whatever they jumped up and down to fight each other, man. That whole group between Hagler, Hearns, Leonard, Pryor, Duran, it's just some awesome boxing in this year and the next 2 years to come, man. Great stuff in boxing. And for the lighter weight guys, heavyweights was kind of, Larry Holmes was the champ, was kind of sluggish, wasn't, coming off the heels of Ali and all the fame and all the hype, and boxing kind of just took a little bit of a dip early 80s, but it was the lighter guys that kept the game going for popularity and TV. That's certainly when I became a Hagler fan. February 1982, back to a new month. Like I said before, whenever you see Inside Wrestling, that's the beginning of the new month. Whenever you see the boxing magazine, that's the end of that month. So if you get lost or I don't mention what the month is, just know when you see Inside Wrestling, it's a new month. Backlund taking on Valentine for the WWF title, the old switcheroo. Backlund pins Valentine for the 3 count. Referee raises Valentine's hand, making a mistake, and gives him the belt. Causes a ton of controversy, calls for, I think, a Texas death match for a return the following month, and there is no WWF champion right now. But Valentine gets his picture on the magazine cover as the champion just to throw a swerve to everybody. February 1982, the magnificent battle of the Golden Boys. Former and #1 challenger, former champion Tommy Rich, #1 challenger, and new world champion Ric Flair battle it out. Former champ, new champ, who's going to take it? Will Tommy get it back? Tommy still had a ton of thunder at this point. I've seen several matches with them. They were always good. A lot of them were on tape. A lot of them were on 16 millimeter, which sucked. But man, would have loved to have caught some professionally shot matches with those two back then. Mil Mascaras takes the cover. Mil Mascaras, 1,000 masks, 1,000 moves, but no titles, which is total bullshit. He was, of course, he held titles. He held the IWA title. He had the Mexican heavyweight title, several tag team titles with his brother. Mil, it's just I don't know why they would even print that. I mean, he's on so many covers, especially with the Weston issues, with him wearing the belt too. Actually never lost the IWA belt and still claims to be the champion of it today. February 82, great looking cover with the purple, the green, just pops out great. Hard issue to find. I didn't know that till a few guys told me years ago. That's very difficult. It's hardly ever for sale on eBay. So if you do find it, be prepared to pay up. PWI, this one's no different. Another expensive magazine. If you do, make sure you got the Gria and Martel poster inside. They are in there with the new tag team championship belts that they had just won. Great looking bloody shot of RF. Mask and Mask battle each other in 1982 winter's issue of Sports Review Annual, and Mask Superstar in a headlock with Mr. Wrestling 2. Sports Review series releases another annual, the Winter 82 annual. Flair taking on Bob Backlund, about to be suplexed or so, looking like he's going to be dropped on his back at any moment. Freebirds with the National Heavyweight Tag Team Championship belts, as well as the Masked Superstar back in that chin lock against Wrestling 2. Wrestling News now releases an issue, so you'll see the Rings was last month, and then the following month will be Wrestling News. Different title, same magazine company. It's just changing the names every other month until the next year, and then it changes it again. Got all 4 guys, nothing very appealing. Bob Roop with the title on the far left, and Sheik Adnan, and nothing very special. This is why that magazine never really sold very well. They never really put out nothing to grab your attention and make you say, "Ooh, I need that magazine." Mr. USA gets the cover of the Garden program, February 15th, 1982, and Backlund takes on Adonis once again in the Texas Death Match. Valentine will take on Pedro Morales. Fuji and Saito with Captain Lou takes on Patterson, Gurria, and Martel in a 6-man. Deluxe, Wrestling Monthly Deluxe. Superfly Jimmy Snuka about to leave the All Japan territory after he just won the All Japan World Tag Team Championship tournament, and Brody and Snuka are the champions. On the opposite side of the coin, the New Japan Pro Wrestling Tag Team tournament called the Madison Square Garden tournament, or the MSG tournament, and that is won by Andre the Giant and Rene Goulet. And I'm sure some people got their head scratches on that, like, Rene Goulet and Andre the Giant. Yeah, Rene Goulet was one of the first Worldwide Wrestling Federation tag team champions back in the early days of when they started the tag teams. He was a winner. He was a top guy. He was champion in several different places. We got to see him more as a upper middle card enhancement dude. But yeah, Rene Goulet was no joke. He was partnered up with Carl Gotch and held titles in a few different places. Oh, I wanted to say something about this actually. This is an extremely expensive magazine for one reason. So if you see it listed for like $400, you know that the game is in it. There's like rare, very rare game that comes with this. I'm not going to be able to show the whole thing because it's too much. It takes up too much space. I'll sneak it through real quick and then I'll show you bigger at the end if I remember. It came with like a wrestling Monopoly game. All right, it's a 24 by 36 poster. It's going to be really hard. It's a map of the United States. Like, here's Texas, here's California and Mexico. Here's, New York, Florida. And it's in Japanese, which, we couldn't play unless you could read it. All your pieces to the game are down here. You got to cut out all these little dots. They're your moving pieces. It's basically like Monopoly, and you have to buy the different wrestling territories. And if you look close, you'll see here is... I don't want to fuck it up because it's pretty mint, and I don't want to screw it up because it's worth a lot of money. Here you'll see, Madison Square Garden. Up here you could buy, Baltimore Civic Center. You get St. Paul, Minnesota. You can go down to Texas. I'm trying to get it all in there. You can go out to the Cow Palace. They're all listed, most of the big ones, and it's all on this expensive board game. So all the pieces are there. You've seen it sell for hundreds if it pops up. Some people don't realize it. They don't know what it is. Most of them got thrown out because all of them were cut up and the pieces, were lost. That's still mint in its condition. It also comes with a poster of Stan Hansen. So there's two posters. Make sure you get the posters with this. If you are buying this magazine, you can get it very cheap without the board game. The board game is ridiculous. And I don't know many people that actually have that. So there is the board game. If I can get a better shot of it later, if I remember, I'll show you the whole board. Sugar Ray takes February 1982 on the cover of KO magazine, and you've got to want it bad enough. That's a dig at Thomas Hearns. So watch what you say because young Tommy is coming back for more. A totally different fighter for the next fight, mind you. Here is the return bout. Valentine took Backlund's title, and there's no champion right now in the World Wrestling Federation. After this match, there will be. Backlund takes his title back, March of 1982, after the Texas Death Match. Sergeant Slaughter taking on Harley Race, March of 82. Fuji and Saito on the bottom with Captain Lou dressed up in the Japanese garb, March of 82. The wrestler Valentine boasts here to cripple every WWF legend, and starts with Chief Jay Strombo and goes down the list of a bunch of guys and a few different angles with the figure four locks and hurting guys and really trying to build him up. What an awesome looking robe, great looking cover with the purple and the dark background with Greg's blonde hair. Always dug that cover, and I never got that one signed, and it's been on my hit list for a while, and I've wanted to, and I really should get out to a show one of these times. Not a wrestling show. I go to horror shows and I see the most of the wrestlers there because I can't stand wrestling fans. They're just too douchey, man. I just can't be near them. They make me want to vomit. So Pro Wrestling Illustrated, another great cover. Two Golden Boys back on the cover for March, and it's also the another expensive issue for the year-end awards for Wrestler of the Year, Rookie of the Year, and blah, blah, blah. PWIs. And back to wrestling news. Once again, this is March of 1982. Dusty Rhodes on the cover. Sweet Brown Sugar with the shades. Tony Garea in the Garden with, I can't really tell, I'm too far away to see. Another very unappealing magazine. So this is Wrestling News, number 81. And they are coming back with another issue for the rings for March. Also 81, and it is March of 82's date with a different cover. You will also see this cover again because for whatever reason they put out another one, but changed the background cover. This is number 80. So you have two 81s and a number 80. They gave Wrestling News 81. They gave the Rings 81, and they gave News 81, and then they gave this sucker. Kind of weird. You can't make it up. They're trying to fill in magazines. They're trying to get their shit together, and whatever they seem to do, it just keeps getting screwed up for them. Because of it, the magazine suffers terribly. They only go on for another, what is this, 82? By 85, they're back to a newspaper-sized magazine again with about 12 pages in it, and it's made like a weekly newspaper. Terrible. And that was like the end of them. They really couldn't make it. And it's too bad, because honestly, it was probably the best magazine on the market for giving you true, up-to-date, honest stories and treating it like a real sport and not the sensational crap that Weston was throwing down our throats with all the fake stories. Wrestling News was number one for giving you the actual truth on what was happening. Andre the Giant on the cover, March 82, March 14th, and Backlund is taking on Jesse the Body here. Fuji and Saito will take on Martel and Rick McGraw. Boxing Mag of March of 1982. This is issue of World Boxing. Dusty Rhodes taking on Nick Bockwinkel, challenging for the AWA title. Only Dusty Rhodes can save the AWA from Bockwinkel. And we're getting a first look at Blackjack Mulligan Jr., which is good old Barry Windham. For those who haven't, look at that mustache, the hat. Not very becoming for what's the 80s has in store for fashion. He kind of changes that pretty quick, and justifiably so. A bloody Ric Flair going up against former champion Jack Briscoe takes the cover of April 82. And I love every one of these issues. It's one main shot. It's one cover. Two guys wrestling on the cover. No bullshit. It's not spammed up with crap and photos everywhere and you can't tell what's going on. You look at this, you're like, that's a wrestling magazine. There's no question about it. And it's just right in your face. Another one, no different, for Sports Review, April of 82. A very bloody J.J. Dillon. I know some of you find that shockingly to believe. Yes, it's J.J. Dillon. Yes, he had a perm. So what? I mean, so did Mr. Brady in the 80s as well. It was a hot thing. J.J. Dillon's no different. Spoiler, making his fist. Some people even say that's not the spoiler. I'm like, it's the spoiler. You can't miss it. And his tattoo right there to prove it. Anyone know what that tattoo is? As do. Wrestling News, back for another wonderful, unappealing cover. Steve Travis, Steve Muslin, depending on where you watched him. On the bottom, Crusher Blackwell, and Ernie Ladd about to call it quits. Had a couple of matches left in him and pretty much winding up his awesome career. Great looking cover of Jesse taking on Bob Backlund at the Garden. Wrestling World Spring 1982. Spring is in the air. Ventura vows to punish Backlund's no-hold-barred title in a rematch. The Garden, April 26th. Pedro takes the cover, and we have our first look at the Superfly, the Super Savage, Jimmy Snuka, the man who hits the TV screen, going after the announcer, eating his flower out of his lapel, looking like a wild man, wild hair. The boots, the leopard skin, man, just totally sucked me right in, and I was instantly hooked. When he flew off the top rope, instant fan, I was like, oh my God, this dude's incredible. Never seen nothing like it, man, but he dove off the top. We're going to see that match coming up soon, too, against Backlund and a few months later on, but earlier in the beginning, Backlund and him just had a one-on-one match. No video of that match, which really sucks. There's a few photos, and I'll show you. Yes, I have the. This is a photo from the match. It hits the Wrestling World cover some year and a half later in June of 1983, and you can tell because these are the trunks he wore. They're not the leopard print. This is more like a cheetah with the dots and the spots, rather black and white spots. The next match they would have against each other would be. He would have the all-black trunks, And then the third match, which was the cage, you'll see the zebra skin pants, trunks. So this is the only shot that we've got to see in color. No footage of that, which really sucks. Larry Holmes, world champion, takes the cover of KO Boxing. Larry looking good and still defending his title for a couple of more years to come. Getting ready to start a battle with Cooney pretty shortly. And there's a lot of Cooney fans out there. A couple on this channel dig him. Making the front cover of the Inside Wrestling for the May's issue, Backlund and Adonis from back in January. Good looking shot of Backlund and Adonis in the armbar. Bob gets the cover, and some love it, some hate it. It's a cool cover. I mean, it's just so cool. Bob with the World Championship belt over the shoulder with the American flag on his 4th anniversary of WWF champ. The All-American boy grows up. Also, the strange reappearance of superstar Billy Graham, and I nearly shit when I fucking read that. I was like, what? And then you open the page, you're like, who the hell is that? It's not Superstar Graham. It took me months to come to terms. I was like, that's not him. That's not him. I remember my uncles are like, it's him. It's him. It looked terrible, with the state trooper mustache and oh God, it was just horrendous. And then the karate on top of it, because I don't think there's karate in here. He's still wearing the colors. He started out in Japan and had one match in Houston with Brody, and then comes over to the WWF, works the rust off a little bit before he comes on the TV, and it's like, who's this kung fu idiot? Come on. And I'm a kung fu idiot, so I mean, I didn't even like it. It kind of grew on you after a while, but you all agree with the same. It was pretty rough, man. That wasn't the superstar we wanted. May 82, Tommy Rich continuing his feud with Ric Flair. Flair with the lime green. You don't see that very often, Flair and green. Always like that cover as well. Spoiler, going after Mr. Wrestling 2. 2 has got his hands full with masked wrestlers throughout the state of Georgia, let me say. And Backlund taking on Jesse in the far corner of PWI. Flair is inside the magazine here in a pinup. Harley Race, for some reason, I just always liked this magazine cover. It's not doing anything. It's not really saying anything. He's just putting the challenge out there. I'm better than both champions. I could take out Backlund. I could take out Bockwinkel. I could take out Flair. I can take out anybody. I just like that look, that big, woolly bear hair and thick beard. And he just looked mean and tough. And it reminds me of when he made his TV appearance on Championship Wrestling in 1980 for Backlund. And just a cool, big, broad-looking dude, not like a young kid, like a teenager, like Backlund looked. He just had that right look. Somebody you just don't want to mess with kind of look. Tommy Rich on the Best of the Wrestler. Spoiler on the bottom here as he shows off the Georgia Heavyweight Championship belt. Spring of 82. Chief J, Tito Santana, Steve Kern, and the JYD are on June and July's issue of 1982, The Rings. Alexis Arguello, why he must not fight Sugar Ray. I guess he listened because they never did fight. And would have been interesting to see who would have went up, would have went down, who would have had the, what weight class would it have been. Arguello was a tough dude, man. Barry Windham got his hair cut a little shorter. It's a little more lighter than the black, but it's still going with that horrendous mustache and cowboy gimmick. Soon to be changed out pretty soon. Inside Wrestling, June of 82. Pedro and Valentine on the left. A feud that started in 1978 or so on the cover of, was it April maybe? March or April of the wrestler Superstar Graham and Peter Maivia. The small corner shot is Steamboat and Flair. Their war started a little bit back there, and this would continue up into the early 90s. And that also needs no introduction from me about, I had a program for this. 1982, Leroy McGurk's UWF Mid-South, call it, was about to close. He's taken on Paul. You know what? I have to go get it. Hang on a minute. Are you still with me? Sorry about that. I wanted to bring this because I can't find the program to it. I got it somewhere, but I got the lineup sheet, a rare one too. It's got Superfly Jimmy Snuka defending the NWA, what was like the Midwest Heavyweight Championship belt, is what they were calling it. It was the United States belt. It looked just like this belt from the Crockett territory. And here is a lineup sheet to that. Just before they closed, I believe, maybe, I'm trying to find the date. Everything's so freaking smeared. This is March of 1982, Fairgrounds Pavilion in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And Snuka is the champion. He loses the title here to Paul Jones. Paul Jones grabs the U.S. title, and don't quote me, a month, maybe two, it's folded, and it's all in the hands of Bill Watts, and Mid-South Territory would continue on under him. But a cool little program here, a lineup sheet to a very rare lost piece of history in the Oklahoma Territory of the Mid-South Territory. I can't find the actual program, but I do have the lineup sheet still. So I just wanted to show that to you. I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal, but you don't see that very often. You don't see Snuka, and that's the title change night. The date, did I say the date was March 1st, 1982, 8 p.m. And there is the Superfly on the cover of June's issue. Tommy Rich battling back again with the Masked Superstar. They would wrestle all over the Georgia territory, those two. Great feud with those two. Adonis and Jesse taking teams, and really cool team to see. I enjoyed it. They were former AWA Tag Team Champions prior to both of them coming to the World Wrestling Federation. Nick Bockwinkel is in the pinup with the AWA belt. I believe it's the brown AWA belt. You know what? Let me look, because I'm not sure. I think it is. It's the last time you see the brown, or it's the first time you see the black one. I don't remember. Okay, yeah, it's the last time we see Nick with the brown belt there. Great looking shot of Bockwinkel. Loved these old pinups that they gave you. Absolutely a must-have. I said it before, you know, no poster, no deal. Magazine's not complete. Got to have them with the posters, man. What's the point? It's the whole thing behind it. That was the grabbing point of that, because there was no color nowhere in '82 unless you were getting a magazine from Japan. The only color we got was PWI before it all caught on, and it was professionally done. You'd see a couple here, Wrestling World would put out, but it was so grainy and pixelated. Same with the Wrestling News. It was like, why'd you even bother wasting, it was making an attempt for no reason. It came out like dog shit. PWI had pristine pinups, man. Superstars of Wrestling, spring of '82, Mascaras comes to the Meadowlands in Brendanburn Arena to take on the Magnificent One for the title. I'm going to start cruising along here a little bit. Trying to keep these videos just a little bit shorter than normal. I'm already past my cutoff point where I wanted to stop. Wrestling Review, July of 1982. Wrestling Review now becomes part of the Rings Wrestling and the Wrestling News. To make things even more confusing, they threw another publication in to their three-ring circus now. And so you'll see Rings, News, and Review. One of them is about to go, and it's not going to be Review because it just started. But actually, it does go again. Just Main Event puts out issue number 1, Wrestling's Main Event, George Napolitano and company. Now we're going to start seeing some color more often, and they would give you not so much pinups, they would give not so much posters, but they would give you like a single page pinup in the beginning, and then later on, after a few months, it would go to a centerfold pinup, which was great. Loved every Main Event magazine. Always had great news inside. Always told stories good. and because George Napolitano being behind it, and also being behind in with the wrestling news guys, they treated it real, and the story carried over to the main event, which wasn't owned by the wrestling news, but George was a freelance. He went kind of everywhere, and this is a great publication from beginning to end. I love that thick, heavy, glossy paper. These magazines sometimes feel like they're one of these issues weighs as much as 2 or 3 of the Stanley Weston issues. June 1982, the Nature Boy Flair on the cover of Pro Wrestling Monthly. Why am I showing this? Oh, I wanted to show you something that's pretty cool. I'm not going to show every Japanese magazine, but just some stuff that's cool. Remember I told you they always give you posters, like posters galore, like they're giving you a poster of Hogan here. Okay, no big deal. But what they're giving you here, and I'm not sure if it's coming across backwards. Yeah, I guess it would be coming across backwards on film. This is an iron-on for your t-shirt. Who the fuck gives you shit like that? Absolutely incredible. Peel it off. The directions are on the bottom. You stick it on a white shirt, iron it across, and there is you have a logo and a picture of Madison Square Garden right on your chest, man. Pretty cool. Never heard of anyone doing shit like that. So, the other month they're giving you a board game. Many other times they're giving you VHS cutout sleeves for a VHS tape to hold for the event that they're televising. You've seen them before. They're always giving you some kind of rare cards and some kind of rare collectible pinups. And the Japanese, really rolled out the red carpet for their fans, and they really appreciated them. And it wasn't, it wasn't cheap, but it wasn't that much more money either. I mean, in comparison, maybe $1 more. But man, for what you got from them was awesome. So I pulled the 3 for the AWA, the WWF, and the NWA just to show you what the t-shirts were going to look like. June of 1982, Ivan takes the cover, return bout for Superfly Snuka. Mulligan, is that right? Oh yeah, Andre takes on Blackjack Mulligan here at the Garden. Pedro goes up, does this say Pedro defends the title against Mr. Fuji? That's real winner there. 2 cards for the month of June at MSG. Atlas gets the cover, and it is the big match with Bob Backlund taking on Superfly Snuka in a steel cage. We all know the match. We all know Superfly dives off the top and comes crashing down, just missing Bob. Here's a trivia for you. Superfly Snuka was not the first guy to jump off the top of the cage and attempt to land on Backlund. Does anyone know who it was? Ding, ding, ding. Time is up. It was the magnificent Morocco. Some few months before, 6 months or so, was December at Boston Garden, December 5th. Morocco is challenging Backlund for the title. He climbs to the top of the cage, spread eagle dive like Snuka, and then he comes down with a knee. It looks like it's very grainy. It's hard to pick it out. It's 16 millimeter film. Was lucky enough to catch a cut version match. It wasn't the whole match. It was just pieces of the match, but from beginning to end. And that was like somewhere in the middle of the match. And Backlund took the shot. At least that's how it looked. He didn't beat him with it though. He ended up getting his neck caught up into the ring ropes some 5-10 minutes later, and Backlund escaped while Morocco's neck was caught up in the ropes. But yeah, Morocco was the first guy to dive off the top of the steel cage over on a Backlund for the title match in the WWF about 6 months before, December 5th. No talk about it, no magazines cover it. I seen the video, I have a screenshot of it on my phone. That's about all I got of it, but man, it was pretty cool. I never knew that up until a little while ago, and thought I would share it along to you guys. So Snuka, you're coming in sloppy second on the dive off. Morocco, though, at least landed. He landed with a freaking knee. Ray Boom Boom Manzini takes KO Magazine July of 82. A war is starting for Nick Bockwinkel and Hulk Hogan in the AWA for the AWA title. We all know that dreadful story. Check out our AWA video to see the history of that debacle with Hogan. Tommy Rich back July of 1982, taking on Harley Race, trying to get his title back that he took from Race back in 81. Doesn't happen. Austin Idol taking on Steamboat in the Georgia Territory, July of 1982. Great looking shot of Austin Idol. Ray the Crippler Stevens gets Austin Idol, a guy who's not on very many covers, gets a back-to-back cover. Why is and this is a summer annual for Sports Review. Also, Hogan has Rocky Balboa pressed above his head for Rocky 3. Wrestling World cover, Adrian Adonis is locked in an armbar by Rick Martel in the summer of '82. No Garden show this month, but this is my very first match I ever attended in Atlantic City Convention Center, in a shitty, rundown, beat-up convention center, and it was dark, dingy, loaded with cigarette smoke. Just an awesome atmosphere. You're right there. There's not a bad seat in the house. There was probably 1,000 people there in this huge place where you could freely move everywhere. Awesome time, and this was special to me because it's my first event program that I ever bought, and Backlund is defending the title against Mulligan. Didn't realize how huge Mulligan really was until you got to see him in person. Andre was on the same card, and man, he was in a 6-man, and mammoth. Andre was like, wow. They came back again in a return bout for a 6-man with Andre and Mulligan, and just Andre towered over him, man. It was just a huge dude. This is another program that was for sale there that night, but it was for your Joe generic program, no lineup sheets or anything like that. But it was just like an extra, and they sold it. We're looking to buy anything we can. We didn't have shit to pick from, right? You were lucky if you had a couple of 8x10s in a program, and you had popcorn. And it was popcorn with the brand name. It wasn't a wrestling shit on it. So wrestling memorabilia, 1982, yeah, it's squat. There was nothing. If you had a pendant or a flag or something, you were rich with gifts from that. But only thing we had were the magazines, the program, and the television. And you know what? In many ways, I liked it much better like that. It was just simple. Flair takes the cover of July's Invitation to the Ring, as I quotation say that. This is an extremely expensive magazine. You can get it cheap because it's extremely expensive for this is Hulk Hogan's rookie card in Japan. It's thick, very thick. It's not paper like Weston's. You're going to pay for this because of this card. You have the dotted line where you can follow it, cut it out. Also, it's got DiBiase as the first Intercontinental Champion for the WWF. Only then it was called the North American title. But there's a good-looking shot of DiBiase with that belt, as well as Hogan here. There's a really good shot of Flair here, which I thought was awesome. And I helped a friend of mine find this one cheap because he wanted to make a T-shirt of this, and he was going to sell it. I don't know if he ever did. But here it is, man. Great-looking shot of Flair really bloodied up after a match with Harley Race, really wearing the crimson mask. Thank you, Gordon Soley. Eye of the Tiger is born inside Thomas the Hitman Hearns. He's looking to challenge Marvin Hagler. He thinks Hagler ain't got nothing. Don't do it, man. I'm telling you right now, I'm a fortune seer. Don't do it. Stay away from that Hagler. Of course, they would fight some 3 years later, go on to be one of the best brawls, the fastest fights ever. I think 4 or 5 round. When I say fast, I mean fast pace. I mean, they were bombing each other. What a great fight. Still to this day holds up as one of my favorites. The Masked Superstar, Andre the Giant. And when I seen this, I almost shit. Backlund is on the cover with Blackjack Mulligan. That was my show. That's where, and I'm like, nah, man, I hate to burst your bubble. That's from the Garden. That wasn't from the Atlantic City Convention Center. I'm like, what do you mean? They wrestled there? They didn't wrestle there. Like, man, they wrestle all over. These are the things you start grasping and understanding I was telling you about before. But yeah, to me, that was the convention center, and that was me watching that match. You know what? It probably wasn't far from it. I'm sure, a lot of the shit was the same. Just maybe the outcome may have changed. But cool looking cover, great looking shot of Andre stretching out Superstar. Tommy Rich going over to either the AWA or they're doing something with Memphis and Lawler. I'm not sure at this particular point where Tommy is right now in 82. Probably floating around. Could be, he probably is making a little trip up to the AWA. Good looking cover though, stretching out Bockwinkel. The rowdy one, Roddy Piper, putting the sleeper hold on Tommy Rich in August of 82. Tommy Rich again for the trifecta of covers with Steamboat, Hacksaw Butch Reed pressing Ric Flair over his head, looking like Tony Atlas there. Man, somebody should have put those two together as a tag team sometime, but that would have been good. Oh, wait, they did for a little bit. August 1982, PWI, and Tommy Rich again. Summer of 82, Fuji and Saito get the corner shot as the tag team champions on the cover of Summer. Backlund Martel, Superstar Bill Dundee, not one of my favorites at all, and Cowboy Bill Watts on the cover of the Rings. Not a fan of Dundee, man. It was just, I forget what Jerry Lawler used to call him, man. When he, sorry about that, when he turned heel on TV against Lawler, man, and he was calling him something. Shit, it was so funny. And I know he would call Lawler Kingfish. Oh man, he used to, I can't remember. It was so many years ago since I seen it. Match number 2, Superfly Snuka, the return match against Backlund, because he's wearing the black trunks here, so that's how you can tell if it's that match. And like I made the comparison before, on the cover of Wrestling Scene, also issued number 1 for Wrestling Scene right here. New magazine has just popped out, so that's 2 new publications that were starting in 1982, and that would continue to roll on through 83 and 4. Next thing you know, we would have 16 publications on the stands in 1 month. Main Event Wrestling, August of 82, Putski has got the ankle lock or the Achilles lock on Samoan Afa. Sorry, yes, Afa. That was Afa. Dos Caras and Mil Mascaras on the cover of Japan Pro. El Connect gets the poster, but you are getting your iron-on t-shirt of the NWA, National Wrestling Alliance, the major promotion in the United States. What a great looking iron-on that would be for you. These things still work too. They still have like a little tacky side to them, so they would probably still work. People are, I don't know if they still look for them. I don't know anything about anyone ever collecting them. I've never seen or heard anyone talk about them, but just really, like I said, a really cool thing to do for your fans. Big Bob Backlund back for another title defense, late summer, August. Actually, early summer, August. This is early August because there's 2 events in August. So this is the 2nd. Backlund's taking on Cowboy Bob Orton. And he'll be back just a few weeks later on the 30th of August, that same month. And he is taking on Playboy Buddy Rose. And has also got Tiger Mask's first appearance in the World Wrestling Federation for the Garden, and he is taking on the Dynamite Kid for the Dynamite Kid's first appearance. Sugar Ray back on the cover of KO, August of 82. And moving up to September now, hitting early fall, September, Inside Wrestling. Jesse the Body and Tony Atlas have a great feud. Battle of the Muscle Bound Dudes. This one, this is signed by both men. Great looking cover. The great looking covers continue on with the single shots, man, just awesome. Blackjack Mulligan taking on Steve Travis. They had a feud in Knoxville in like 81 where he was Steve Muslin. He was also under a mask, and they were battling each other, and he turns face on TV with Mulligan. I really liked Mulligan's Knoxville territory, man. That was really great TV. I loved it. I can't get enough of it. I wish I had more of it. Les Thatcher at the table doing the announcing. It's just a small studio arena. Man, it was great. It was just great stuff. Kevin Sullivan was there. Barry was there. I'm not sure if Arn Anderson was there or not. He may have been with Southeastern with Fuller still, but they're all about to come together real soon and all become one at some point, except for Fuller. Fuller always did good on his own all the way up until 88 or 89. But man, awesome times. The great that's Kendo Nagasaki getting the death grip on the American Dream. The shocking heel turn of David Von Erich, and he's got Wrestling 2 in the Iron Claw, turning his back on the fans is Von Erich and becoming heel in Florida. And he's certainly going out to get some exposure and spread his wings. It was determined he would be the NWA's man in line for the heavyweight championship of the world, and making himself known throughout the different territories. Florida would be one of his first stops. Good looking shot of David. He would soon turn face again, partnering up and being friends with Mike Graham, and all would be good. Actually, Kerry was there for a little while. You should hear him try. They were terrible on the mic, terrible. And then trying to be heels on top of it, it's even worse. It's like, all right, we can never do this again. You guys, you're not heels. You don't have the skills on the mic for, a baby face, but you can pull it off because you're a baby face. But for a heel, it just wasn't happening. If you can find some old interviews, I think you'll agree with me. Who is it? Tommy Rich. Wow, we haven't seen him in months. September of '82's PWI got Gino Hernandez in the sleeper hold. Sergeant Slaughter, U.S. champion in Crocketville, fall of '82. Blackjack Mulligan, and the feud continuing on with Ric Flair, but not quite, because they're both in different territories right now. And this is a throwback match from '78. Still a great feud, and still a cool looking cover. Best of the Wrestler. Wrestling Review is back for another issue. All three world champions on the cover. Okay, it's a little bit better. It's a little bit more, more appealing to the eye than some of the others, but it still ain't great compared to the others. Flair takes on Backlund in a title versus title, NWA versus the WWF. The match took place in the Omni. No film of it was ever filmed, apparently. At least no one's ever seen. I show this a bunch of times in other videos. You show the full, maybe 6 or 8 pages in color. You can check it out. I won't bore you with that one again. Major League Wrestling for the greatest city in the world. Well, at least for me anyway. That's the Steel City of Pittsburgh. That's my second home. I love Pittsburgh. I love the people of Pittsburgh. Just absolutely down-to-earth, bluegrass, hard-working people. And I just love that city. I have so much fun when I go there. I haven't been there in years, and I've got to get back there. Shout out to my Pittsburghers. Backlund defending the title against Superfly at the Igloo. Sugar Ray hitting the speed bag, and kind of just a plain old cover. You didn't see a lot of great covers for boxing because there wasn't matches 5 times a week like they did for wrestling. So there's a hell of a lot less boxing. So they're going to show a few photos of the guys who are going to sell. They're going to put the matches on that'll sell, and they'll use a lot of photos over and over again of the same people because it's not generating enough matches to keep a magazine going. That's why they only came out every other month. You had KO one month, you had I was later. We had international boxing, and they had world boxing. It was every other month. They alternated. And then they added KO, and then soon international boxing would be gone sometime in '80, maybe 3 or 4, somewhere around there. Inside Wrestling, October of '82, new month. Tommy Rich once again with the Rowdy one. And on the bottom here, Andre bloodied up from Blackjack's claw. The Superfly takes the cover against Backlund. This is also from their first match back when I said it was their first match. What was it? Was it April, May, something like that? October of '82. You can see Snuka's got the cheetah dots on the trunks, and it's another photo from that first match. Terry Funk gouging the eyeballs out of Abdullah the Butcher, thinking the guy is going blind looking at this gruesome cover. Just absolutely love it. Bloody battle in Texas, Funk and Abdullah. Winner take Georgia. How about that? Nature Boy Ric Flair on his first ever posed cover as world champion. He was on the beginning January of the decade's cover, but not really posing for it. Now he's dressed out, decked out in the robe, posing with that title belt, October of '82, and it would be one of dozens of him to come in the future with the title belt. That is, he was on more covers than anyone with that belt. Kerry Von Erich may have been second for the guy who held it for only 3 weeks. He was on like 40 covers also. The rings got a collage of everyone covering some Mid-South down below with Mr. Olympia and the JYD. Scotty McGee in Georgia, Brad Ringings in the AWA, Strombos with Big Bob in the WWF. Awesome looking matchup here. Wish I was able to see this kind of stuff. Wasn't in my territory, so I didn't see it. Flair and Snuka. Flair, trying to think. Did Steamboat lose to Snuka and then Snuka lost to Flair, or is that backwards? I don't remember. I'm sure one of my Mid-Atlantic friends out there will chime in and say all three, Snuka, Flair, and Backlund, and Steamboat, incredible matches. Some of my favorite matches with Snuka ever are against Steamboat in Japan. Great matches, very athletic, a lot of high flying, man. I wish we would have gotten some of that in the States, but it just never happened. Great looking magazine cover. Absolutely love that cover. Andre the Giant on the third issue of Wrestling Scene, or is it the second issue of Wrestling Scene? This is October of 1982. Mulligan and Andre the Giant get the main cover. Backlund is on a color pinup inside. Another war that is about to break wide open and spill buckets of blood from state to state, and that is Wildfire Tommy Rich, the Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer. And these two, what a war they would have. Polish Power Ivan Putski, October of 82, gets the cover. Backlund takes on who? Superstar Billy Graham. Makes his appearance at the Garden, taking on Backlund for a threesome, I think 3 in a row. He'll have October, November, and December. I went to one of those shows. I got the ticket stubs up here to let me know where it's at. This is another expensive magazine anyway. Kind of hard to find. Could it be for the iron-on? I don't know. I doubt it because it's the AWA. Could it be for the tri-folded Flair poster? That could be. I don't know. But here is your AWA iron-on. There it is. They had other ones too. I don't have every 82 issue from Japan. This is the year I kind of stopped collecting. I would cherry pick. I would complete from 68 until 81. And 82, they started having different matches, different covers. They started having more of the Japanese stars on the covers rather than our American stars. And that's kind of where I just would pick through here and there. But this, I'm trying to just see what this is for and why this is here. This might be an accident too. Hold on. There's got to be something here I have it for. Oh, this magazine here has got a ridiculously expensive. They call it a card again. It's not really a card. It's thick as hell. I mean, it's a card. It's a dotted line, and it's Hogan's first actual pinup card, collectible card. What Gong Invitation to the Ring was doing was once every month he had a collectible giant card like that, and there would be Flair, Harley, Tommy Rich, Inoki, Baba, Dragon Fujinami. Just trying to think of all the guys who were in them that year. But this is Hogan's first, and it's extremely expensive. You could pay into the hundreds for it. You could pay into the hundreds just for that. It's ridiculous. There's no really any value of it for me that I would want to pay anything like that. To each their own, but that's the reason you're paying a lot if you do see that one and you want it. So you have that. A few months back, I showed you that little 3x5 actual baseball card. That's expensive as shit. And then that one there. So there's two with Hogan from 82. Larry Holmes takes the cover. Ronaldo Snipes on the Big Book of Wrestling. I'm sorry, Boxing. Big Book was one of my favorite boxing magazines. World Boxing was first. And actually KO would probably be, but before KO got popular, it was Big Book and World for the 70s anyway. Big Book was a great magazine. Flair and Backlund get the cover. And also seen Superfly Snuka and Putski live in the convention center in Atlantic City that summer on a different month. Also used to think of that as that was the one I was at, but of course, it wasn't. This is probably coming from the Garden somewhere. Great looking cover, man. Another one of my favorites. Had to get that one fully signed by all four dudes. Always liked looking at that cover. It's always out in the front on display. This used to be a difficult issue to find, and I don't know why. It could sell between $30 and $35 at times. I'm talking years ago, maybe 7, 10, 12 years ago. Not sure anymore. November of '82, Ted DiBiase getting stretched by Flair. Also, the new World Tag Team Champions Anderson and Stan Hansen. Roddy Piper is in the Mid-Atlantic area trying to catch a win over Jack Briscoe in November of '82 Sports Review. My favorite poster of all time, it's hanging on my wall, Superfly Snuka, the heel with the beard and the wild hair. Absolute must have, and took me years to take it out because I didn't want to screw it up. I got to the point where I just didn't care anymore, and I see it every day when I come downstairs, and I'm happy to see it. Bob Orton with the headlock on Pedro. Backlund challenging now Nick Bockwinkel in the AWA, but don't be fooled, it was a match from '79 on this issue of '82 fall. Best ofs are always recycled stories, nothing new in those type. Wrestling's sexiest superstars and the three sexiest guys on the cover, guys like us, you take it or leave it, really doesn't matter, that kind of an issue. I don't think anyone ever asked for Salvatore Bellomo to be on the cover of a magazine, but here he is, the Iron Sheik, and Steve Dr. Death gets his first look on the cover of a wrestling magazine, Wrestling Review, November of 1982. Out of nowhere, Dan Laurie pops out of one of his bodybuilding magazines, another Wrestling Training Illustrated. And this would be his final issue, the winter of '82, '83, as they're calling it up here. It was probably a year ago since he put out his last magazine. That started in '76. I have a whole video discussing Dan's magazines and how cool they were. Thick, glossy paper like the Main Event, several color pages inside. He gave tons of posters. The ones from the '70s, he has like 7 posters that are pullouts that are huge. Always a great magazine, always liked these. They were heavily dominated towards guys who were built and muscular-wise. So you'll see a lot of Graham, Ivan Koloff, thicker guys, like Bruno, guys who were in shape for that. I'm not talking about like the roid maniacs that were to come the next decade, but he predominantly leaned towards the muscle guys, Tony Atlas and shit like that. This is their last issue. Another shot with Backlund and Superfly on their first matchup together that wasn't recorded. Superfly, I'm breaking my cherry to the Garden. This is my ticket stub and my program from that night to see Superfly take on Captain Lou Albano. Main event, Backlund challenging Superstar Graham challenging Backlund, and really cool. What an experience. Madison Square Garden is an awesome place. Hate to say it, I don't want to offend anybody, hurt anyone's feelings, but it ain't got shit on the ECW arena. I'll never see anything like the ECW arena. That place was absolute ape shit. Superfly back again. Okay, this is an event that I would have loved to have went to, but didn't. Some 4 hours away from where I was in Philly at the Spectrum. Superfly Snuka digs his manager and partner out of retirement, Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, to take on Captain Lou and Ray Stevens at the Spectrum. And here's the program to that night, Thanksgiving night. What a night it was. Was able to catch that, I think 2 days later, or 4 days later maybe, on Prism, on, on cable, because was back down in Jersey to visit family. We spent Thanksgiving up north, came down to visit, and I watched it at my cousin's house. I was able to catch it because I didn't have Spectrum Wrestling up in New York. Let's see, we got same month as this? Lineup sheet for Erie, Pennsylvania, November 27th now. Backlund taking on the Crippler. Superfly Snuka also taking on Captain Lou Albano on one of the major league programs put out by the Wrestling News, Norman Keitzer and whatnot. Sugar Ray, unbelievable, on another boxing magazine cover, November of 1982. Good looking shot of the Sugar Man. Blackjack Mulligan digging in the claw to Andre the Giant, and I remember always wondering, what is that tattoo? What does it say? I remember being in school, and we got the magnifying glass from the teacher, and we're trying to blow it up and see what it says, and we're like, oh, it says USMC. I'm like, what the fuck's that? Teacher's like, United States Marine Corps guys, come on. Well, what do you know, December 82, fantastic cover, signed by Pedro, signed by Superfly, signed by Tommy Rich. Great looking shot of Superfly going for Morales' Intercontinental belt. Playboy Buddy Rose on the cover, his first major cover, challenging for the title in December of '82. Hulk Hogan Gets the cover of PWI for his first posed cover. He was on one cover with the Crusher, and here he is back again for a pose. Junkyard Dog, Fuji and Saito, the tag team champions once again on the bottom. I like the dog in the white. I like the dog in the powder blue too. Morocco and Backlund get the cover of Wrestling World's special issue. So they put out 4 issues a year, and they gave you a winter special to end out their year for Wrestling World. So 5 total in the year of 82. Wrestling Scene jumping on the big world title defense matches with Backlund and Valentine. Main event, no different, giving you some color pages as well inside. 6 full-page color photos, as well as a bloody Superfly Snuka coming out of a cage here in a bloodbath. Must-have issue December 1982, and a horrendous-looking KO boxing magazine. There it is, friends. Thanks for watching our 1982. I'm going to pull this poster over here and pull back a little bit to see if I can get you this without tearing it. Give me 1 second. So here's the board game. If I can fit it all, just to give you a glimpse at it. Like I said, here is the pieces that's for the game. The directions are over here, and you move about the board and you buy territories and whatnot. I don't know, and it's pretty wild. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing they do for their fans, giving them something like that. Anything like, we've never had shit like that. There wasn't even games to buy except for like that one Von Erich game or the one Gordon Soley game that they had. But there it is, guys. Hope you dug 1982. I'm not here because I want you to subscribe. I don't give a fuck if you do a thumbs up. I'm here because I love each and every one of you dudes who've been with me, and I continue making these videos for you. I'm not looking to grow the channel. I can give a shit less. I just like talking to you guys. But I do care if you comment, because I like to talk to you. And you wouldn't believe that if you really knew who I was, because I'm not really a people person. I don't talk to anybody. But I do like talking about wrestling to all you guys, because every one of you have been so cool. And looking forward to the next one. Maybe we'll do one for 1983. See you on the next.